Hello, I'm Eric from Lonesome Reader, and I'm making a non-book related video today, which I know is sacrilege, but I'm here with the fabulous Faye Dunaway, who can't be bothered to tell you about her favorite films of the year, so I thought I would tell you about mine. But since I'm talking about movies, if you've ever been curious, that clip I show at the beginning of my videos, that's from a 1950 film called Born Yesterday, starring the fabulous Judy Holliday, who plays a gangster's wife that learns the love of reading. So I thought this would be a fun video to make today because in addition to reading a lot of books, I go to the cinema a lot, and I mean a lot. Although this year I've been seeing a lot less than usual. I've been to see 75 or 76 films at the cinema this year, but of course I watch a lot on TV too, and Netflix and all that good stuff. But I want to talk about my favorite movies that I've seen in the cinema in 2017. And do let me know what your own favorites have been in the comments below, because I do want to know which ones that I've missed out on that are like really good and that I can watch over the Christmas period. So these 10 films aren't in order of preference, they're just in the order that I happened to see them this year. Firstly, A Monster Calls. This film made me cry so much. And I very rarely cry in films, but a boy dealing with his complicated feelings as his mother is dying with cancer, this film just got to me. I mean, devastating, but so imaginative and beautiful, with some really gorgeous animated sequences. It's a joyous, really moving thing. Of course, as many of you know, this was based off from the book written by Patrick Ness, which was based off from an idea by Siobhan Dowd. And I feel like a bit of a fraud because I haven't read the book. And normally, like, I don't like to go back and read a book after I've seen the film. Like, I like to do it the other way, of reading the book first and going to see the film, but for some reason it always feels a bit odd going back and reading a book after I've seen the film. Should I read the book? I've read other books by Patrick Ness and really love his writing, so let me know what you think. Next, Personal Shopper. This film was directed by Olivier Assayas, and he also directed one of my favorite films of 2014, The Clouds of Sils Maria. About Kristen Stewart. I know a lot of people have issues with this actress, but I think she's excellent and I really love her. Here she plays a celebrity's personal shopper, but she also may or may not have psychic powers. She spends a creepy night in an empty mansion trying to contact the spirit of her dead brother, but this isn't just a haunted house story. It's more about the porous nature of identity. It's a bit like Ingmar Bergman's film Persona, if you've ever seen that, which is one of my favorite films of all time. But Personal Shopper is just very unsettling and odd, and I just loved it. And speaking of unsettling, my next favorite film is called Raw, and this is a French film which is partly a coming-of-age drama, partly a critique of institutionalized like group mentality, and also partly a diatribe about vegetarianism. And it is brutal, like doesn't hold back creepy cannibalism. But I found it so mesmerizing and fascinating as this girl tries to navigate the complicated social structure of this veterinarian school along with her gay roommate. I Am Not Your Negro. This is a documentary narrated by Samuel L. Jackson, which is based off from an unfinished manuscript by James Baldwin, which is called Remember This House. It's about his thoughts on the civil rights movement and his experiences with different leaders of the civil rights movement. It's an interesting glimpse into Baldwin's personal life because interspersed with published documents that he wrote are personal letters that he sent. So you get this complex picture of one of America's greatest writers, as well as insights into the fight for civil rights. The Red Turtle. This is a beautiful animated film without any dialogue. A simple story about a man who washes up on a desert island and the relationship that he develops with a turtle who shapeshifts into a woman. I feel like like weirdly that this is sort of like the literary equivalent of Robert Seathaller's novel A Whole Life, because it follows a man through different stages of his life and how he grapples with sort of the meaning of life and what the meaning of home is. But the experience of watching it is like reading a Ghibli graphic novel, The Big Sick. So I have to say right off that I don't think the title of this movie is very good. It just doesn't really evoke what it's about. And the phrase just doesn't capture what a funny and touching movie this really is. It's loosely based on the real life story of Kumail Nanjiani and his relationship with Emily Gordon. It's about cross-cultural differences in modern America, and it takes some really surprising twists. It's directed by Michael Showalter, who, fun fact, is the son of Elaine Showalter, the famous feminist and critic. And I just found the film so much fun and really moving. God's Own Country. It feels like this British film has got a lot of attention in the UK, but I'm not sure how widely it's been distributed in the US or elsewhere in the world, so let me know if you've seen it. It's about the romance between an irascible farmer's son and a Romanian migrant worker. And it's especially about how, for many gay men, there is a sharp line between sex and romance. And I found it amazing how it conveys so much feeling and emotion in the shots of the landscape and in the dialogue of what these characters don't say to each other, what they leave out of conversations. I thought it was just beautiful. And funny story, several years ago, I met the director, Francis Lee, because he's the partner of a friend of mine. And so I met him at this party event, and we were just having a chat, and I was asking him about what he does. And he says that he was trying to make a film. And so I was chatting along with him, and I was being encouraging and interested because I was, but sort of in the back of my mind I was thinking oh, this is probably just another film that'll never be made, because and not because I'm cynical or didn't think that he was capable of making it. I just thought that lots of films don't actually get made, and so in the film industry there's a lot of talk. But he showed me wrong, and this film is truly excellent. Loveless. This is my hot tip for what will win the Best Foreign Language Film at the 2018 Academy Awards. It's by the same Russian director who made the film Leviathan, which was nominated for that award a few years back. I saw Loveless at this year's London Film Festival, and I talked about other films that I saw in the first part of my October wrap-up. But Loveless is about a young boy living in a household where the marriage of his parents has completely fallen apart. He goes missing, and the film follows his parents' search for him, even though it kind of feels like they don't even really care because they don't actually want him, which is so heartbreaking, and it made me weep. And I know I said I don't cry in films very much, but maybe that's not true. Maybe I do cry in films a lot. And this film sort of reminds me of the literary equivalent of John McGregor's novel Reservoir 13, which also follows the story of a community after a child goes missing, and how that absence says more about the community itself. The Florida Project. This film follows the lives of several characters who are living in a motel in Orlando, and particularly a young girl and her single mother. It's about the lives of working class people who tread dangerously close to the poverty line, but also about the caring and compassion that can be found in this loose community living in the motel, but also the betrayal that can occur within that community. And part of what I loved so much about this film was how it shows the dark side of Orlando, because I think in a lot of people's minds when they think of Orlando, they think of this sort of elevated fantasy world of Disney World. And basically every year of my life when I was growing up, my family took me to Disney World because they are Disney nuts. But the characters in this film feel like how life really is, and the ending is just so grippingly perfect. Call Me by Your Name. I read the Andre Aciman novel that this film was based off from many years ago, and I loved it so much. And I think this film is one of those rare instances where the movie is just as good as the book, but in a different way, of course. It's about an American student who comes to live in an Italian household over one hot summer, and how he develops a relationship with the son of that family named Elio. It's such a complex but realistic portrait of gay desire and yearning. But what I particularly adored about it was the way it shows the father's love and respect for his son. And after seeing it, you'll never look at a peach the same way again. So those are my favorite films from this year. Let me know your thoughts about them if you've seen them, or if you've seen any other particularly good films, let me know about them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you again soon.